Mm. Uh, um, I don't know. I'm lucky enough to be in a motel for 3 nights, and it's quite humorous because I've gone from a fucking 10-bed dorm to the only room available in the 3rd motel I tried, because I was very kindly given some motel funding for a temporary time, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, I haven't recorded anything in person for a while because vocally, because I just haven't had any privacy, and but yeah, so I've gone from like 10-bed dorm, and I keep ending up in the bloody top bunks for some reason. So I was sort of walking down the strip, like my benefactor has, I'm not taking the piss out of a benefactor, but I was like, I left a backpackers, and I'll get into that in a minute, with way too much stuff, because I've still got stuff from, and I'm temporarily restrained from mentioning the person, but still dragging this albatross of stuff around my neck from backpackers to backpackers. When I finally got most of my stuff back, and because it's very difficult to get things into storage. Anyway, I won't go into all of that. I think people just know, like, it's really hard to get things into storage without a car. So I didn't have an opportunity to get things into a storage while I was in backpackers, because I left quite quickly, which again I'll get into soon. And the mild humour of my current situation in comparison is quickly becoming so mild as to be probably undetectable. But can I just, Caitlin, I try not to criticise myself. I really try not to, because that's all I get from everybody else, and it's not that I don't deserve criticism, it's just like I can't jump on the fucking bandwagon, and I will catch myself criticising myself, and I just go, no, it's okay, baby, it's okay, darling, you're doing your best. If someone doesn't do that, I'm just gonna fall over. But yeah, we'll try that again, that punchy intro, we'll try that again. I went from a 10-bed dorm into basically the cheapest motel room I could find, which was a three-person studio apartment, which is like just hilarious. Like, I'm sitting on my like single bed here, and there's my fucking queen bed over there. It's just like very amusing that I mean, and I did say to the duty manager that it's like really funny that this is the situation I'm ending up in, with like and I said I feel like I really morally ought to go out there and like bring some homeless people into sleep with me, I reckon we could get an easy 6, 7. I'm hiccuping because I'm drinking cider, because I've had such a fucking shit of a fucking day. And I'm sorry, but fucking ciders are fucking mental health intervention at the moment. But yeah, and it's all just so, like, everything's everywhere because, and I did explain to the manager, really nice guy, who reminds me a little bit of my granddad. I said, I don't live like this, I promise. I've just had to rip everything apart of all of my luggage apart. I have to rip it all apart because I've got and like, I try not to go in sounding like a tragic victim. But, you know, at a motel, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't want to sound like a tragic victim at a backpackers because they don't want tragic victims there. They want, you know, European backpackers, and, you know, they don't want, you know, people who are down in their luck. But, yeah, I had a bit of a chat with the duty manager, a young woman, about changing rooms to more befitting one person. But by the time that got sorted out for me financially, thank goodness. And no, it's not a fucking sugar daddy. It's what I must admit, with much grace, is in fact my family. And though I'm estranged from my family, I was in a situation that was basically life or death. And yeah, I didn't want to spend like, so I don't want to say where I am because the fucking cops always want to know. For some reason, the cops still think it's plausible that they want to check my welfare. So I can't mention anything about suicide because then they want to come and check on me and then fucking ruin my fucking chances of having something to live. Because, you know, super good luck. But let's just say I'm in one of the very, very many parts of Christchurch that is just like almost a strip mall of motels. It's just a motel strip mall. And all that was stopping me from just going along like a kilometre of motels, just checking the lowest prices and the most available, you know, the most, you know, the lowest available priced rooms, was simply that I had been carrying this so much fucking luggage, like so much luggage, that it took me 2 bus rides to move from one backpackers to another. But I got into such a desperate situation, that I had to move it all. And on a bus, and I got on the wrong fucking bus. I had to get on the bus. Fuck, it was like such a mission, like 2 really heavy suitcases, like a big like laundry bag full of just some of my fucking life laundry, you know, quite heavy as well because I hadn't washed. I've got like this whole fucking laundry thing going on everywhere. you know, just in a bag of my food, you know, in like a supermarket canvas handle bag and in a backpack. And I've had nightmares like that. Like, I've had a load of nightmares like that, and it hasn't even been since this. I've had like I've had nightmares that I've never, you know, a lot of a lot of them are symbolic, you know, a lot of them are not. A lot of the time I'm talking about just dreams now, but I'll just be standing there, sort of like waiting for my toast to pop. And I'd be like, oh my god, I had a dream about a toaster last night. And then I'll be like hanging out my washing. It's like, I dreamt about a pig last night. So a lot of my dreams are just extraordinarily boring. I don't get much of an audience for my dreams. But I've had a number of dreams where, like, it really is a fucking nightmare. Like, it's a real nightmare. It's a nightmare for people who live in the real world, not kids. You know, where I've just got so much stuff and I can't fucking carry it with me and I can't get it all on the bus. I've had heaps of those nightmares. Not in recent years, but this is fucking happening to me, man. Like, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? And I'm in Christchurch now. And I'm a very careful person, but I'm not a paranoid person. So if I were in Wellington, I'd be like, no worries, but I'm in Christchurch, so I know I'm about to get stabbed and mugged. You know, for fucking real, man. You know, in the fucking, yeah, there's some fucking, you know, Christchurch is not a safe place. And I don't want everything in my whole fucking life stolen if I survive the stabbing, you know. And I've survived too many deadly events to have any hope of surviving a fucking stabbing in the street. So yeah, I'd just rather hang on to the stuff that I've got, because the life is more difficult without those things than it is dead, you know. Absent. And it is such a nice motel, and so what I did is I immediately just bypassed the first one. I was just like, okay, like, I'm sorry, I'm not even going to go and try the Coyote Lodge. Like, I'm not even going to look at it anymore. No. And the second one was no vacancy. The third one was one that I remember trying ages ago when I was desperate, but I remember it being like $185 a room, and it's just like, nah. And then I got to the fourth one, and then I'm like, I'm just going to try this place, because, and it's like, my god, my arms aching, my whole, like, it's like I've worked out, like, I've been dragging this shit around and hauling this, must be like 25 kilo or something, 71 litre suitcase, which, thank goodness for, like, packing cubes, but packing cubes they reduce the volume, they don't reduce the fucking dense, you know, the weight. And so I've been, you know, lifting on and off buses, and I've had a lot of people help me. Like, one thing I will say about Christchurch is that there are some fucking lovely people, and I've just had so many lovely bus drivers, and I've had, like, yeah, just a lot of really nice people saying, like, if I ever have to stay upstairs somewhere, it's just like, fuck. So so I just, most of the time, just some guy will come along and say, can I take that down the stairs for you, or can I take that up the stairs for you? And I go, yes, please. But sometimes I will have a look around and I will ask, and like, whatever day that I left the last motel, I just grabbed this guy who I'd given some laundry detergent to, and he had just arrived, and yeah, needed laundry powder, laundry detergent, and was disappointed. Anyway, whatever, it's just like, look, I think we've fought, you know, I went to the bother of going fucking up to my room and getting it for him, and saying just keep it, it's hardly nothing left and whatever, like, so we had enough of a relationship that I felt I'm gonna ask this guy to take my luggage down the fucking stairs. And what's so funny, it's really funny, like, I cannot lift, I struggle, and it's so embarrassing, it's like, it's so undignified, I struggle to lift this suitcase. This is the suitcase, it is not obviously like I'm in packing mode, like I've pulled everything apart to, I can put everything back together again, and I've got a bunch of stuff from, you know, whatever to help pack and everything, but organise things better, but I can barely lift that onto a bus when it kneels, like I can barely lift it, and I have to conceal a lot of, like, you know, like I'm really like trying to act like it's no big deal as I'm basically falling onto my knees. And it's really funny, like this guy, he just looked like he was just like a little kind of cheerful guy, and he just sort of picks it up by the side handle and steers, like, it's just amazing. It's just it's just incredible to me. Yeah, the difference between men and women has very, very, very little to do with size. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. Like, I used to have this massive peace lily, and I had to keep repotting it. Like, I realised this beast was never going to die, and it ended up being in a pot like that high. Isn't this place lovely? And it was just like insane. It was just like, I just got to the point where I could no longer own this fucking plant. Like, it's just like, I'm sorry, you're not a house plant anymore. You're now an inert flatmate. You're like a sort of, what do you call those people? They're not comatose, they're, totally forgotten. Anyway, it was just like a big fucking human that wouldn't do anything, and I had to look after it. It's just like, I can't move you anymore. Like, I would lift it off its its a plate thing underneath. My vocab's fucking shot. To like empty the plate sometimes if it was getting a bit full, but it was like so much fucking difficulty. Like, I'd be like, oh my god, and I'm gonna fucking drop it. Like, it was a huge fucking deal. And then it's like, fuck, I've got to get it back onto the fucking plate after draining the plate. And I get these movers, and just these, like, a lot of movers of these really big guys, like kind of rugby player size guys. But even you get these little guys, like 5'9" or something. You know, I don't mean little, I mean 5'9's average, but you know, they're not like big beastie, like, you know, like they're just normal size guys, and not bulky or anything. And there was this fucking one guy, I think his name was Junior, and he was literally just standing there holding my fucking massive fucking pot plant in one arm, and just standing there casually with bags in the other hand. It's like, what the hell? What are men? Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And I know I'm rambling, but for fuck's fucking sake, if you're watching this, that's your problem, not mine. It's just absolutely amazing. And then, because I have, you know, I went through a big Joe Rogan phase, and then I just basically watch Joe Rogan for certain things these days. Although I should watch a bit more because it's quite nice to have him on in the background. Talking about the whole transgender fucking sports things, and because he was an MMA guy and then commentator, and he's a very woo kind of guy, but he also knows what he's talking about when it comes to the physicality of men and women, and the anatomical differences that give advantages in different areas. And so women, like, we're not, our bodies aren't stupider than men's are, they're just stupider at doing some things, and like way better than doing other things. Like, there are things that men can't do, and when it comes to physical power, no, I can't even say that, because women have physical power that men don't, but in a very different way, like giving birth and stuff. Like, you can't. This is why I don't think artificial wombs are going to work. It's like, sorry dude, you need the whole fucking bone structure down there, or you're going to die in childbirth, basically, or you have to have a cesarean. Oh, well, I think I'm being a dick, aren't I? Of course I'd have a cesarean. But anyway, that just proves what I'm saying. Like, you can't, there's, weirdly enough, wide hips, compared to men's hips, or compared to the waist, or the rest of the body, it's not that's not a primary, that's not any kind of sex characteristic, biologically speaking. It's simply an evolutionary artifact, because the women with wide enough hips were the only women who survived to survive childbirth. And quite often, if the woman died, the baby would also die, or maybe the baby would die and the woman wouldn't, but whatever, you're not getting a lot of humans out of slim hipped women. And so women aren't, there's nothing female about having wide hips to waist. It's simply that those of us, it's just simply that most women do, because it's just survival of the fittest. And it's also become sexual selection as well, since somehow in men's biological kind of primeval knowledge, they realise that even if they don't, because we're still drawn to breed, even if we don't consciously want to. That's why men find women with wider hips more sexually appealing than women with slimmer hips. You've got to have a differential there, really, for that to be an attractive thing to men, because on a primeval level they know that the kid that they don't want to have anyway is gonna get through the what do they call it, pelvic hole, whatever, like, yeah, it's just really interesting. So yeah, I just thought I would just say, and I'm fucking allowed to ramble. Fuck, I get really defensive, because it's like every fucking person, I can't fucking take a step without having someone fucking having a go. I really can't. I'm just going to ramble to myself. And if you're listening, welcome. But if you're grumbling, fuck off. So when I said men's bodies just do physical things better, it's just like, no, that's not true. But it's very hard to differentiate. It's actually very hard to find a precise definition, because it's so very hard. Whatever it is, the reason men are better at fucking shifting things and lifting things and moving very quickly and propelling things and, you know, like, I mean, all of that kind of stuff. It's more than just muscle. It's not just muscle. It's not. It was fascinating when Joe Rogan started listing a few of the things, because it was when Fallon Fox was fucking shattering women's eye sockets, and I exaggerate. He shattered one woman's eye socket. Another one he caved her skull in. Both of them were in hospital for quite a long time. I think the skull caving or cracking one, I think she was like in hospital rehab for quite a long time. And neither of them ever returned to sports, and not because I think they were necessarily put off, just they were simply incapacitated. You know, they were injured beyond, like, that's not, like, you can't, a woman cannot fucking cave in another woman's fucking eye socket with a punch. And a man normally would not be able to cave in another man's eye socket. Like, they get the Helen, what's her name? Heather Hying, wife of, oh my god, Brett Weinstein. Shit, man. Gotta be careful with that name. The biologist, brother of physicist Eric Weinstein. Anyway, Heather Hying's an evolutionary biologist, and I think she's done sort of a lot of anthropological kind of stuff. Anyway, and you know, she's left wing, but she's also a scientist, and she said accepting trans women into the realm of womanhood isn't a binary yes or no. It's like, of course, in some parts of woman's womanhood, of course, and of course we're talking about genuinely trans people, by which we mean not that anyone is born in the wrong body, because that doesn't make any sense, but just that genuinely meaning that there's gender dysphoria there, which is a very difficult to treat condition, and most effective treatment is transitioning, unfortunately. Although Blair White, one of the, who's a trans woman herself, and I'm comfortable saying herself. To me, I just use language naturally, and you look at Blair White and just to say he just feels preposterous. But she's still got a dick. She's still waiting for the surgery to mature to the extent that it's not going to be just butchery, which I think is totally fine. I love it. She's got this boyfriend partner called Joey, and I love how I can just go off on tangents on myself and I'm not being fucking banned from somewhere. Anyway, Joey came on, and Joey's just like this good looking blokey kind of guy, and they were just answering some sort of fan questions or viewership questions, and I think someone was said, and you know, like with Blair White, like she's just very difficult to offend, and she's very open about the whole thing, and she's very open about the fact that transgenderism is a psychiatric problem. It's not a departure, it's not a delusion, it's not, and I push back very, very hard against people who say it's delusion. Most trans people and I think they can probably be at least colloquially distinguished as transsexual or transgender. Transsexual has a different connotation, and transgender becomes a concept creep, which we see is happening now. But she said she was a gay guy who really just felt much better dressing and living as a woman, and that is not denial, that is not delusion, that's not a belief that she is a woman. That is her saying the pain of the dysphoria. Well, I mean, dysphoria is a pain, but the like the intensity of the dysphoria and the endurance of the dysphoria, because it usually persists before about 20, which is why she's a very strong advocate against anybody even taking a step on that pathway till you've got well through the full development stage, mentally and everything, because your brain's still growing, especially as a guy. Yeah, she said no. It was the only. It's just simply the transitioning physically is simply the only effective treatment for gender dysphoria, for those people who have gender dysphoria, rather than just believe that they're a woman, which is something that's a bit different. Anyway, so someone asked, to the effect, basically, a men, and I guess they were referring to Joey in this, more than obliquely, like a men who date trans women, like gay. And Blair, and I don't know if I'm mixing this up with another interview. I'm pretty sure it was Blair and Joey, but I think they looked at each other, and they're a very, very tight couple. Anyway, whether or not Bleeeuuuurghhhhh was alone or was Joey at that time, because they could be blending two different episodes, she said, well, no, it's not gay, because he's into me as a woman, and if you see what Blair White looks like, she's certainly a bit of a sort of show pony, but you could never look at her and think for a moment that is a man. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And she was like, yeah, like, gay men are not into women. Which is quite a, and she said, well, I'm not a woman, I'm a trans woman, but, like, I get kicked out of the men's loos, like, and she did an episode where she said, because it's always really good to say, trans, you should just use the bathroom that your sex aligns with, and she was like, cool, well, I'll fucking show you what happens when I do that, and she got fucking kicked out of a pub for fucking trying to stand at the urinal, basically, which she can still do. So Joey's not gay, because gay men aren't into people who look like Blair White. That's not what they're into, and she's 5'5", which is bang on average, I think, in the States for a woman. I'm 5'4". There's nothing masculine about her. Even her pre-transition photos, she was a pretty, not masculine looking guy. So she said, no, it's no, they're definitely not gay. But then she said, but it's also, they're not the straightest people in the world either. Which was just such a fucking gas. Because at the end of the day, you are, when they're having sex, there are two penises. And I don't know what they're doing, how they're managing that. I mean, I know how gay men manage that, but I don't know how, because they're a heterosexual couple for all intents and purposes, aside from the extra penis and the total lack of a vagina in the whole situation. Yeah. And I can't remember if she's discussed, because she went, so the whole thing, all the sophistry of the, so as, going back to Heather Hying, she's like, yes, of course we can include trans women as, and trans women as defined in a specific, in a meaningfully specific way. Of course we can include them as women in most areas of life, but there are some areas where we simply can't, and that area is in physical competitions against women, because it's not about politics, it's about androgenization, when you go through male puberty and androgens are pouring through your body and running around like little nanobots, creating a man's body, not a boy's body, and it's not a woman's body, and it's not androgynous, it's not like, it's so much more than just muscle mass. And it was amazing. So after Joe Rogan was explaining some of this, I ended up looking up more about it, and it's like, wow, there is so much to do with the way, like, little guy, like this little, quite little guys who can pick up my suitcase with one hand and just walk it down the stairs, whereas I'm like, I can nearly having a hernia to get onto the bus. It's not like, they clearly don't. They've got more muscle mass than I do and less fat, but that's not an explanation for it. They're just simply not big enough to have that much more muscle. And what it is that there's the angle of the hips, so the way that your posture is and how grounded you are on your feet. There are more bulky joint casings, for want of a more knowledgeable word. They have broader shoulders, they have bigger ribs. They can. The hand sizes, like Bleeeuuuurghhhhh has quite big hands and quite big feet. So even though she's only half an inch taller than I am, she's still got different proportions. So if you're, any sports person knows, and I know not as a sports person, but because I've done a lot of reading on it, that when you throw a softball or when you throw a punch, you're not using your fucking arm. Your arm is basically the last part of the fucking process. And women throw like girls, not because we're, but because we don't, because we don't have that full, like, it comes, like, it's from like how you stand, from the hip, like, I don't know exactly what they mean by hip angle. I presume they mean it's like something like that angle, whatever, but you're planted, like, humans are very stupidly shaped. We're very stupidly shaped. Look, what a freaking impractical shape. And look what we've got to stand on. We've got these long tall things on these little pedals. So when you I can throw a ball about 5 meters if the wind's going in the right direction. And I know I'm supposed to start from my hips or something like that, but I can't fucking do it. And then guys just like toss a ball and it's like, oh my god, it's over the other side of the field. It's just fucking amazing. And I'm not sure, I am not a boxing expert, and I'm not talking about MMA, I'm talking about boxing. Jake Gyllenhaal, he was the central character in that, which I didn't watch, but I saw like shorts, and I saw posters, and he had these really huge biceps, and it wasn't necessarily the size of the biceps that was the problem, it was the fact that they were really cut. And it's like, that's not what boxers don't need their arms to be cut. Because that's not where they punch from, you know. Yeah, I don't know, like it's just all very, like you've got a whole, like your body is, to be a sports person, your whole body is its own team. And you've got to have really good team members, right? And so women are not worse at sport, it's just that we don't have, you know, we need to compete against people who have the same fucking equipment, and we don't have the same equipment that men do. And the people who say, I mean, there's so many, you know, the sophisticators and sophistry, you know, so many arguments, like all these like ad hoc, like, well, how come they've got less testosterone than, you know, like some women and stuff. It's just like, the point always comes back to, this is what the biologists always say, it doesn't matter. If you have been through male puberty, your body has become a male body. And it's not about the current hormone levels that you have. It's about the fact that you had testosterone building your body into what it was. And those changes do not disappear once you moderate the level of testosterone or even remove it, right? Yeah, so it's just amazing. All these little things, and it's not just muscle. It's just fucking everything. Yeah, it's just really, really, really insane. So anyway, yes, so I was not cut out for dragging all my shit around town, and I didn't really know where I was going. I was trying to go to my storage unit to at least like drop off some stuff, and so at least I could walk around with only one suitcase and a backpack, and try to not, I mean, I'm trying to like, what would a person who wouldn't be mugged look like? You know, like really trying not to look like a, you know, I'm not really sure, I should do a bit more research about it, but I don't think wandering around town with a fucking bright purple suitcase crying on your knees is the best way to look like someone who wouldn't be mugged. But that's the situation I got into, and I conked out, and I was trying to explain to my doctor yesterday, who's French. I said I got to where I got to, I'm not telling ya, and to catch my second bus off to my storage unit, and I was just like, I can't, like, you just reach a point where you can't. And fuck everyone who goes, just a little bit more, It's like, I've already done a little bit more. It doesn't work like that. A little bit more is great as a motivational attitude, But as a matter of reality, I'm sorry, but a little bit more has a limit. Sometimes there is not a little bit more, and there wasn't, and I was basically just like, even if I can get to the fucking storage unit, because there's a bit of a walk from the bus stop, and the bus was just endlessly delayed. Where am I fucking going after that? I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to go. Because I'd left this backpackers. And I managed it so that I would stay long enough that I could get a reasonably full refund without spending any more time living on the street that I needed to, which I didn't want to do anyway, and I hope I wouldn't have to, and without having to pay twice. So I'm not gonna walk out and go, my dignity is driving me to make myself a waif. But I did want to leave that backpackers reasonably quickly for reasons, and but I'm not a dick, and so I stayed an extra night, and I got a refund, but the refund did not come through until today, which was fucking amazing when it came through. But it meant that I could not pay for the backpackers that I had moved on to, and that was like one of those fucking nightmare scenarios where you're like, holy shit, I thought I was about to collapse from exhaustion moving my fucking luggage from backpackers to the other backpackers over 2 bus rides. I thought I was going to collapse over that. And now I have to move all of the luggage with me to the storage unit where I'm putting some of it and keeping some of it and then going, where? Where? Nowhere. There's nowhere. I've tried everything. And I started getting really cold because even though it's coming into summer, days are quite hot, it's starting to get cold, it's starting to shiver, I'm not doing very well. I've been to my GP, I've lost 10% of my body weight, I'm unsteady on my feet, I'm in a full stress syndrome, so everyone needs to shut the fuck up about anxiety. Whether or not anxiety accompanies stress, whether or not it does. And to those people who assure me that I am anxious because anxiety comes from stress, whether or not that is true, stress is still stress. It is not anxiety, and it is a full body problem. It's not anxiety can cause harmless, physical symptoms, palm sweating, tachycardia, shortness of breath, all that kind of thing. But stress is a very, very, very dangerous state to remain in for a long time, which I have, 2 years, at my age, 46. I'm in danger. I've lost 10% of my body weight. I was weighed yesterday. I've dropped 2 kilos since I last weighed myself, and that was a couple of weeks ago. I gag when I go to eat, so I'm extremely frank with my doctor, and I said I am drinking. I know booze is the fucking worst thing to do, and I know I'm not supposed to drink with benzos, but if I don't drink, I cannot eat. And like what happens, and I was explaining, it's not like I don't have an appetite. I said, like, I will gag, like I gag, my epiglottis closes over, and this always used to happen to me when I'd have breakups. And I guess it was just like it's the heartbreak diet. Like it happens to a lot of people. Some people when they're go through a breakup, they eat a lot more as comfort, but there are many, probably more like me, who just, like, their body just goes, I'm not swallowing fucking anything, fuck you, I'm not sleeping, fuck you. And so that's what my body's doing to me. It's just saying, you can't make me eat, you can't make me sleep, I'm not going to do that. So the only way I can eat without fucking gagging is by drinking. And my GP was trying to say, well, I think you should take like your clonazepam first and wait to see if that relaxes you enough to eat. And I'm like, dude, you're French. Aperitif, madame. You know, like, booze just makes, you know, it incites the appetite. You know, it's not about stress release. It's something like, you know, the taste of alcohol is notorious for. She's like, oh yeah, aperitif, which I'm probably pronouncing wrongly. But yeah, I think she got it, and I said, like, I know it's real bad, and I certainly don't need to drink a bottle of wine like I did last night, but fuck, you know, like, fuck, if there ever was a day to have a bottle of wine, it was that. And she said, yeah, I'm going to get you. Yeah, so I'm technically anorexic, and when people say anorexia, all anorexia means is more or less the inability. No, all it means is that someone has stopped eating, or stopped eating sufficiently to maintain their necessary the necessary calories or other nutrients, you know. Anorexia nervosa is the subtype of anorexia, which is done deliberately in order to lose weight, and it's a mental health problem because it's got a bit of body, you know, it's body dysmorphia or some other sort of sense of needing to control, or whatever. It's a psychiatric, it's a psychiatric condition. And so LRD agreed with me that I am, yeah, this is anorexia now. It's not an attempt to lose weight. It is simply, in my case, I can't fucking eat. And so she's getting me, and I said I've been having up and goes, and I feel bad at having up and goes because it's made of milk, and I'm vegan, but oh yeah, I've been making a lot of concessions in my animal rights stuff to keep myself alive, and I have very mixed feelings about that, but whatever, I've been having up and goes because I can't swallow much else, you know, I can't chew, and I like, ooh, and I'm starting to gag on my fucking medication, and it's like, it's just not good, So she's like prescribed me some like meal replacer, like every fucking illness has one of those, like you have a cancer one, and I had a renal one obviously, where it was low on potassium and phosphate and stuff like that. But it's basically a protein, it's basically like melted ice cream. And so she's prescribed some of that, and I'll probably like start on that, because it's just like, I've lost weight too quickly for it to be like fat. Like I look fine. Like I look fine. Like I'm not a you know, I'm not a tiny little person. Like, this is fine. But the thing is that, no, like, it's not, I've not lost weight healthily. I'm just gonna, I've got no fucking pride or shame or anything. There's just nothing. I just don't think that people can. I'm quite muscly, right? So, I mean, for a female, so it's quite difficult to sort of see. I think the weight I've lost has not been I do not think it's fat. I think it's mostly muscle, which is not good because my heart's a muscle, and that's why anorexics, people with anorexia nervosa die of heart attacks. I never used to understand this at all. Why do they die of heart attacks? They're too thin. It's because the heart's a muscle, and when you lose weight very quickly and unhealthily, the weight you lose, your body goes to the muscle first. It wants to use the fat last, because the fat is a more valuable resource for simple survival. And so I guess like that just looks like I don't look underweight, and I'm not underweight. I checked my BMI. I'm not underweight. I'm still in the healthy weight thing. But like, because I'm 46, like I have all this weird like loose skin, like it's kind of disgusting. And also the other thing that I need to point out is that I'm heavy. I'm a heavy person because I am. God, people always laugh at me. But I'm a muscular person. I'm just, I'm not saying I'm like muscly, like a bodybuilder, but my body composition is quite heavily muscular, and so I weigh more than, my weight throws, my sheer weight makes my BMI result probably too normal. It's like, like the detractors of the BMI way of determining someone's healthy weight are missing the wood for the trees, really. I wonder if you're really muscular or pregnant, and it's like, well, that's why it specifically says don't use this for pregnant women. And you would never ever you'd never do a BMI fucking test on a rugby player, because of course they're going to come out as fucking obese, but they're not. They're just extremely fucking muscular. So it's just basically, it's not meant to be a fine tool. It's just meant to give a rough indication, assuming that most people are composed normally, have a normal fat to muscle ratio for their sex. That's just what it's sort of there for. Now I have more muscle, so I'm heavier. So there was an ex-boyfriend I had a long time ago, and his best friend had a girlfriend who was built very, very similarly to me. We both had the same double D boobs and slim, but not skinny. And she weighed 65 kilos, and she weighed like 55 kilos, and I weighed like 62 kilos. We were almost exactly the same height, and our boobs were almost exactly the same. Like, our boyfriends would get us to go back to back. Like, never seen men more focused on whose busty girlfriend has bigger boobs than the other. Of course, my body's changed, and it's not the same. Not the same anymore. Okay, my boobs aren't as big, but I used to be slim with big boobs, and but not certainly not skinny. And she was the same, but she had virtually, she just had a I think she had less muscle than average for a woman. She was just weak as a kitten. Fucking bitch though. Whereas I have a lot more muscle than the average woman, so I had like a fucking stone on her, you know, like I would have, we could possibly have been in a different weight division, you know, at the same size and height and everything. Yeah, so it's just really interesting. So, yeah, I suspect that actually I'm probably not. Well, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You get skinny fucking women, and they're perfectly healthy, but the point is not that. It's not the weight that I am. It's the trajectory downward very, very quickly. So, it's I'm frightened, and then also kind of delighted by the prospect of my heart wasting and just dying of a cardiac event, because you can't, that's why you can't, yeah, people just don't know. Like I know more about how the body works than a lot of people do, because you know, like I had to learn a lot about the human body being a renal patient, you know, to be a good host for the kidney. Which is as good a reason to stay alive, I suppose, as any other. And also, I'm just very interested, and I don't know if that's separate from being an Aspie, but I get very fascinated by learning why. And I turned a technical writing fucking project into a fucking biology project or hematology project by trying to understand all the different kinds of anemia, so I could write up a little sort of info page for an assignment. And it was just like, fuck man, like I don't think I did very well for my writing assignment, but I learned a lot about anemia, and fuck, that shit is complicated. So yeah, so complicated. Wow. But I can tell you a lot about anemia, and all it's like a family tree of causes, proximate, ultimate, millions of stops in between. Sickle cell, megablastic. Okay, no, I'm fucking exhausted. My biceps are aching, my back kind of hurts a wee bit, my legs are shaking. I don't know where I'm gonna live tomorrow, because what happened is, well, I don't know if it's happened or not, but it's just like every fucking time, like it doesn't matter, it's just like there are 3 things in life that you can count on: taxes, death, and me being fucking screwed over by yet another fucking devil of a fucking human being. So I'm trying to move out of the backpacking kind of thing into the Airbnb thing, and it turns out there are loads more options in Airbnb than I had thought there were. Like, so many options, and some very cool options, and I don't want to go into all the details. It's extremely upsetting. But I'm gonna read. I'm just honestly, like, I was last night, like I had an Airbnb account which I set up and used only really for my last couple of months in Wellington before I moved to Christchurch. and I didn't ever open the app, I think, when I was in Christchurch. God knows what that fucking login is. That is long dead. So I created a new account last night after looking at enough listings to see that there were so many listings of so many diverse listings that could suit me, my needs in all sorts of ways if I just sort of modify my, I can adapt to these different scenarios. Like one of them was a more secure sort of tent site, a more sheltered tent site with a work, like an office room with Wi-Fi, and not that far out of the city, and then there are, just so many different things. Like it's not, it's not what Airbnb is. It's very diverse. And then I shortlisted and I approached this guy, and I'm not going to tell the story again because I've already summarised it for Airbnb, which I complained to. And the thing is that I don't complain anymore. Like, I mean, I make it clear, like, I don't want to go through a resolution process. Like, I'm sorry, I just want to be given my rights. I just want people to behave like I just want people to behave themselves and do, just be decent people. Going through a complaints process is not any sort of compensation for me. Now I just have to go to more work, and I'm already fucking freaking out about where I'm going to fucking sleep tomorrow night. Going through a complaints process in and of itself is not any sort of second prize. It's not somewhere to live, going through a complaints process. And I often find that, and I'm not saying this about Airbnb, I have a feeling they're probably going to be pretty good about it. But also the trouble is, a lot of the time when you go through a complaints system or service, is that their goal is to deflect the complaint, turn it around on you, make it your problem. And so what I usually do these days is I just say, I don't even want a response. I just want to give you the feedback, do with it what you want. And to me, that's really the only effective way of having a chance at them reading the feedback with an open mind, knowing that they're not reading it to rebut it to the complainant. They are just reading it to see what's happening in their business. And like when the complainer just says, this isn't for me, this is for you, do with it what you want. It's like, I'm not interested in getting more fucking abuse back. But I tell you this. So my mum was the one who I've got some replies from Airbnb and somebody. But anyway, I'll just wrap it up. I'll probably read it later because I kind of self-soothed enough. But basically, this guy's been a total dickwad. Decided that no, I cannot wrap this up quickly, and I'm dying to read these things, so I'll just post this now and it can just be its own fucking thing. I feel a lot better anyway.